between two hills covered by a thick forest on the Nandi escarpment, you'll find a steep and overhanging cliff that's approximately 500 meters high. Locals around the area regard this cliff with both amazement and fear because a long time ago, the location was also a site of the ancient practice of SHEU MOROBI, where very old members of the Nandi community will jump to their deaths for a variety of reasons. What's even more interesting is not only the fact that partaking in this deadly activity was 100% voluntary, but also the fact that old people in the society believed that if they didn't go through with the centuries-old tribal custom, then a great misfortune would befall the entire community. With that in mind, in today's video, we'll be looking at the interesting and mysterious reasons surrounding the SHEU MOROBI practice, as well as how the ceremony itself was carried out. I'd also like to note that the topic was suggested by one of you guys. So, if you have a topic or legends from your community you'd like me to cover on one of my videos, then kindly name them in the comment section below. Also, kindly subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, turn on the notification bell, and even smash the like button. Doing all these things will help my channel grow and allow me to make more videos in the future. Without further ado, let's jump into it and start with why the SHEU MOROBI ritual was necessary in the first place, according to the Nandi people. First and foremost, to understand why old men and women in the Nandi community will willfully take their lives in a manner that will today be considered problematic to say the least, we have to look at how the traditional Nandi community viewed death. Like in most African communities, death among the Mandi was revered and feared in equal measures, depending on the circumstances it happened. For instance, if death struck a younger generation, then not only did the Nandi wail and mourn, but in some cases, they would even migrate to a different land if the way in which death had struck spelled misfortune to the community. If, however, an old person passed away in the community, then that called for a celebration because the Nandi believed that death was the last bridge that graduated the old people in the community to the rank of spirit ancestors. Better yet, old people in the society looked forward to the days they would leave this world, because then their legacies could live on through the many newly born children who would be named after them. Remember, naming your child after someone who was still alive was one of the greatest taboos observed in the Nandi community. Anyway, now that you have a slight understanding of how the traditional Nandi community perceived death, we can look at the first reason most old people in the community were so psyched up to partake in the SHEU MOROBI practice, and also why those who took part would forever be regarded as heroes in the community. The first reason is quite simple actually. The elders in the community simply wanted to relieve their families from the burden of caring for them. You see, after the old people in the community had performed all the duties expected of them, they believed that they added no more value in the society. Their duties included, but were not limited to, passing on the customs, lessons, and history of the community to the younger generation. So, to these elders, taking part in the SHEU MOROBI practice sort of allowed them to go out on their own terms without stressing out anyone. And by the way, SHEU MOROBI is an Nandi term that directly translates to "there we go forever." Now, the second reason elders in the traditional Nandi community partook in this practice is quite more interesting. As 𝗣𝗟𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗘, who is a researcher of Nandi culture and customs, put it, the Nandi traditional custom stated that it was a taboo to live long enough to see the initiation of an age set that will be named after your own age set. So, those who attained old age by seeing complete age set cycles of Maina, Chumo, Sawe, 𝗣𝗟𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗘, 𝗣𝗟𝗘𝗔𝗡𝗟, and Nyogyamang the Nandi took a lot of pride in participating in SHEU MOROBI and diving off the cliff. I know that might be slightly confusing for some, because it was for me at first, so allow me to elaborate in the simplest way I could come up with. The Nandi tribe was divided into 7 different age sets, namely Maina, Chumo, Sawe, 𝗣𝗟𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗘, 𝗣𝗟𝗘𝗔𝗡, and Nyongi. Now let's take a look at how the tribesmen were divided into the 7 different age sets. To do this, let's assume it's 1000 AD and the Nandi tribe is just starting. The first group of people to be initiated in the tribe will be named the Maina age set, And after 15 years have passed, the Nandi tribe will initiate a second group and name them the SHEU MOROBI. After an additional 15 years have passed, they will initiate another group and name them the 𝗖𝗛𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗘. The Nandi will continue this process until all the 7 different age sets have been occupied, after which they will reset the process and start again from the top, meaning that the next group to be initiated will be named the 𝗖𝗛𝗘𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗘. Also, as you can see from the table above, the whole initiation cycle will usually take around 105 years. So, with all that in mind, let's assume that an elder initiated under the first minor age set in 1000 AD lives long enough to see a new group of people getting initiated into the last Nyongi age set in 1090 AD. According to the Nandi custom, he or she isn't supposed to live long enough to see another age set by the name 𝗖𝗛𝗇 getting initiated, which in this hypothetical case is scheduled to happen in 1105 AD. That's what 𝗣𝗟𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥𝗧 meant when he said the Nandi tribal custom stated that it was a taboo to live long enough to see the initiation of an age set that will be named after your own age set. Anyway, now that you understand the reasoning behind the SHEU MOROBI practice according to the traditional Nandi community, we can skip to the next section of the video and look at what happened on the days of these events. In the first place, note that the Nandi tribal custom stated that SHEU MOROBI was only supposed to take place approximately 5 years after the biggest harvest season, when there was an abundance of food crops, honey, and milk from the livestock. Apparently, this allowed the elders to partake in feasting activities as much as they wanted, so they could build up their morale before the day comes when they'll be expected to nosedive to their deaths. On the day of the SHEU MOROBI ceremony, the elders would also be allowed to eat whatever they wanted as their last meal, after which they would leave for the cliffs, accompanied by their loved ones. These elders would also bring with them some milk, millet, and honey inside traditional gourds. According to them, they were going to give these as presents to the spirit ancestors, already waiting for them at the bottom of the cliff. I'd also like to think that these supplies came in handy in case someone happened to survive the fall. Anyway, once they were at the mouth of the cliff, the elders would stand in a line with their backs facing the bottom of the cliff, hold hands together, and start singing songs of praise and motivation. According to legend, most of these songs detailed how beautiful their lives had been and how excited they were to move on to the next level of existence. Now, as the chanting and the singing were hitting the climax, the elders who were still standing in a line would then start walking backwards slowly until they were at the edge of the cliff, after which they would throw themselves backwards and fall to the bottom of the cliffs. 40 days after the SHEU MOROBI ceremony, the elders who had taken part in the practice would get promoted to the rank of spirit ancestors, and children born thereafter could now be named after them. The community was also allowed to offer sacrifices and libations to these elders, who were now spirit ancestors. Now, it's only fair that we talk about those who were old in the community but still refused to partake in the SHEU MOROBI ritual. Well, the sad truth is that they were considered cowards and outcasts because the society feared that if they stayed alive and at some point felt neglected, then they could end up knowingly or unknowingly cursing their descendants. With all that in mind, what are your thoughts on the SHEU MOROBI ritual? Why don't you let me know in the comment section below? In the meantime, that's it for today. If you like the content, kindly do not forget to smash the like button below, because this will help the channel grow and allow me to make more videos in the future. Also, if you have a topic you think I should cover, do not hesitate to name it in the comment section below. Thank you, and see you again next week.